Welcome to the second video in our series of breaking down the 4 C's. In this video, we'll be talking about collaboration. First thing I want to do is just show you a few videos. We're probably not going to play all of these, but just kind of watch these as we go through and see what it makes you think about whenever you see them. Okay, we're going to leave that little guy where he is, and I'm going to take you to the next one. There's several of these, so I kind of wanted to show you guys all of them. The next one is actually not a video, and I can't link out to it, but I just wanted to show you guys. This is a picture of Willie Nelson, and it's actually a cake. So I just want you to think about what all went into the person that created this cake that looks freakishly like Willie Nelson. The next one is actually a video, so I'm going to click on that and we're going to watch just a little snippet of it. This is actually not a video either, but I did want to show you this picture. It's he's a wood carving artist, and I think he's in Taiwan, but he creates these elaborate house frame, door frames, and he does furniture, and I just found this picture because he's extremely talented in the way that he can make the intricate designs using just woodworking. This is a picture of a surgeon, and he's performing a surgery, a very intricate, delicate heart surgery. This one is it does link out, but it's not a video. So when I link to it, what it's going to do is take me to these images, and I could get lost watching these things all day long. What they are, and I'm just going to pull a few up in the preview over here. It's 3D sidewalk chalk art, and these people are just phenomenal in the way they can create these very realistic sidewalk 3D designs. And to look at it, it just almost takes your breath away to think that this is actually not here. This is just an artist's rendering of a 3-dimensional underground cavern. The same with this. So, this physically looks like it is out of the water, and none of these are actually what they look like. And I think there's actually a picture in a minute that shows. Let me see if I can find it. I could look through these all day long. They're amazing to me that this is a flat image. Let me see if I can find the one that shows. Here is an example of the artist painting one of the, and you can see down here is after it's finished. But here, this is just a flat parking lot, and he is able to create these images. Here's one where he started sketching it out, and it becomes, something that looks like this. So I brought this up just because one of the things that we're going to be talking about, and I guess I can stop looking at those now. In the next slide, one of the things we're doing and we're talking about are skills. Even though we're focusing on communication for this video. So, that was just kind of a little intro to what we're going to be talking about. But one of the reasons I chose to pull those examples in is because it really demonstrates what we mean when we're talking about skills. Skills are a combination of knowledge, personal qualities, and abilities that are developed through life and work. Some skills may be easier to access for some people than they are for others, based on things like dexterity, physical abilities, and intelligence. So, we do know that sometimes, people are either have the correct makeup or mindset or physical traits to allow them to be really good at something. However, we can't say that it is only dependent on what you're born with, because everyone knows that the person that made this cake was not born with abilities for sculpting cake. This little boy maybe is more athletic, but the point of all of these things and the Blue Angel, the ability to do this, the whole point of all of these when we're talking about skills is that skills are not something that can be only attributed to things that you're born with. You must develop skills, you must practice them, you must use them, and it's something that are always, you're either growing or not growing in whatever the skill that you're talking about. So in order to grow a skill, you have to use it and you have to fail at it, and you have to go back and re-examine why it didn't work and adjust in order to make yourself better. And these people on this slide all did that very successfully. So we've talked about some examples of skills, and we talked about what we mean when we talk about skills. And then at the bottom, it just goes in to say, there are two types of skills. We've got soft skills and hard skills, and we're going to talk about each of those very briefly. Soft skills are going to be referring to non-academic skills. Maybe we think about these as 21st century skills or future-ready skills or life skills. They tend to be harder to measure objectively, very hard actually. They're going to include social, emotional skills, critical thinking, things that help people to facilitate positive interactions with other people and to overcome challenges. Here's just a visual of the 6 C's, and generally we think about the 4 C's, but they've thrown in character education, which I think is really important, and citizenship. Generally, you think about communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity as the 4 C's. All right, so let's look at hard skills. Hard skills are typically teachable. They are attainable. They are easy to quantify. In other words, you can measure those. Typically, students learn hard skills in the classroom through reading or through learning content, training. These skills are sometimes viewed as qualifications or technical skills, and they're easier to measure. You can measure them more objectively, and it will produce data. So when we talk about, testing kids on their content, we're typically referring to hard skills because you can test whether or not they know that or they don't. So just think about when we're in school and we have to give students tests because we are bound by, giving them a grade. It's very, very easy to lean heavy on this type of skills because they can be measured. We can have data. We can test them. The problem with that is that companies and just really when we look at a portrait of a graduate and talk about what we want our students to graduate out into the world with, these are the things that business owners, parents, teachers, school leaders, when asked, these are the things we want to see kids have. But in school, generally, we are so heavy on the hard skills. And it's difficult because sometimes what does not get tested does not get taught. And so we have to be really careful to allow room in our daily schedules for kids to practice these type skills just as much, if not more, as these.
For us to understand why it is so important for students to develop strong collaboration skills. Not only does collaboration help students learn how to work together, it also develops their social emotional skills and helps them develop conflict resolution in a safe environment. Now that we know why it's important, we need to identify what collaboration should look like. Students working collaboratively will look different for each classroom and each group, but the overall goal, regardless of appearance, is learning how to work together, form deeper understandings about situations that are unlike their own, and learning how to properly navigate social situations with peers. When our students graduate, we want them to be prepared with a skill set in collaboration. Some of those things can include teamwork, problem solving, becoming strong communicators, strong listeners, leadership ability, flexibility, inclusivity, and productivity. How will we know if they've developed those skills? Our students should be able to work collaboratively in a group to solve a problem and show growth in those other areas. Some collaboration skills that our students will be developing are positive interdependence, where students feel responsible for their own and their group's efforts. Face-to-face interactions. Students encourage and support one another. The environment is encouraging discussion and eye contact. Individual and group accountability. Each student is responsible for doing their part. The group is accountable for meeting its goal. Social skills. Group members gain direct instruction in the interpersonal, social, and collaborative skills needed to work with others. Group processing. Group members analyze their own and the group's ability to work together. Personal responsibility. Help students see themselves as positively interdependent so that they take a personal responsibility for working to achieve group goals. They have discussions around fairness and work distribution. Effective interpersonal skills. They listen, paraphrase, and ask questions. They take turns, give constructive feedback to each other, keep an open mind, act in a trustworthy manner, and promote a feeling of safety to reduce anxiety of all members. And finally, life skills. Cooperative learning is proven to foster student self-esteem, motivation, and empathy. Oftentimes, competitive learning is confused with collaborative learning. Competitive learning has very little interaction between students. There are no accountability to others. Responsibility is only to the student. Homogeneous groups, if any. One student is typically the leader, and social skills are assumed or ignored. But in collaborative learning, active interaction with others in their group, they are accountable to the other people in their group. They're responsible to and for the group, heterogeneous groupings, positive interdependency, and social skills are directly taught in collaborative learning. One method for collaborative learning is Tuckman's model. There are 4 initial stages, and a 5th was added a few years after its conception. All groups will go through this process to some extent. The forming, storming, norming, performing model of a group development was first proposed by Bruce Tuckman in 1965, who said that these phases are all necessary and inevitable in order for the team to grow, face up to challenges, tackle problems, find solutions, plan work, and deliver results. In the forming stage, it's like an orientation for a new job. The team has just been introduced and everyone is very polite and pleasant. They're ready to get started. Most are excited about the new situation. Some are a little reluctant, but don't show it as much. During this stage, the group can discuss members' skills, backgrounds and interests, project goals, timelines, ground rules, and individual roles. At this point, they're just getting to know each other. Then the group moves into the storming stage. In the storming stage, the reality and weight of completing the task at hand has now hit everyone. The initial feeling of excitement and the need to be polite have probably worn off a little bit. Personalities may clash. Members might disagree over how to complete the task or voice their concerns if they feel that someone isn't pulling their weight. They may even question the authority or guidance of the group leaders. But it's most important to remember that all teams experience conflict. It's important as the teacher at this point to make sure that you're guiding them through this stage and showing them how to disagree appropriately and be successful while working with these new team members. Then we move into the norming stage. During the norming stage, the group will start to notice and appreciate their team members' strengths. Groups start to settle into a groove and everyone is contributing or working as a cohesive unit. Then in the performing stage, members are confident, motivated, and familiar enough with the project and their team that their team can operate with diminished supervision. Everyone is on the same page and driving full speed ahead toward the final goal. The fourth stage is the one that all groups strive to reach, yet some don't quite make it. And as teachers, it's our job to help get them as close as we can. We provide as many opportunities as possible for collaborative work so that they're able to grow the necessary skills to reach performing stage. And finally, the adjourning stage. Once a project ends, the team disbands. This phase is sometimes known as mourning because members have grown close and feel a loss now that the experience is over. When placing students in a group, we need to keep in mind the following things. All learners must actively participate. The teacher becomes the learner at times, and sometimes the learners do the teaching. Respect is given to every member. Projects and questions interest and challenge students. Diversity is celebrated. All contributions are valued. Students learn skills for resolving conflicts when they arise. Members draw upon their past experiences and knowledge. Goals are clearly identified and used as a guide. Research tools such as internet access are made available. Students are invested in their own learning. Here are some ideas for successful collaborative classroom management. As you'll have students in various groups, noise control can be an issue. You can look at using the talking chip strategy or a variety of other strategies. Getting students' attention is also important. You need to have a signal to allow students to know when they're coming back together as a whole class rather than in their small groups. Answering questions, you'll need to set up a policy. Do they ask the group before they ask you? Use timers so that students understand how much time they have to work with their group. And model instruction. Before giving them the assignment, make sure that they see in you what you're expecting of them. On the next few slides, we're going to provide some collaborative strategies to help you be successful in guiding your students through this process. All of these are great strategies for you to use. Please feel free to look at them when you have a moment. All of these strategies are linked out to a website or a video to help you gain more understanding of each strategy. We're going to dig a little deeper into a few of our favorites. First is the Harkness method. In a traditional classroom, the teacher's at the front directing the students, asking questions, and eliciting responses. In the Harkness method, the teacher becomes an observer. The students sit together in a circle or oval and guide each other's learning. Every student should pose a question and answer at least once in order to receive a grade. The teacher is merely an observer, which allows them to make documentation of what the students have said and who has participated. This is unlike a Socratic seminar in that it's not tethered to a specific book or text. The Harkness method can be employed based on any topic, any classroom, any discussion you'd like to have. Next is a Socratic seminar. A Socratic seminar is a formal discussion based on text in which the leader tends to ask open-ended questions and elicit responses from their peers. Students listen closely to the comments of others, think critically for themselves, and articulate their own thoughts. Students are asked in the initial rules to take ownership in this process, so they're invested in the outcome. Think, Write, Pair, Share is a quick and easy collaborative tool to employ in your classroom. First, your students are going to think and write independently about the topic or question that's been posed. Then they'll pair up, or you will group them, and then share their ideas with their partner. Finally, once the two students have come to a consensus, they'll share their answers with a class. Roundtable is a collaborative learning technique that allows students to assess prior knowledge, recall information, and practice communication skills. Students will write 1 to 3 sentences about a given topic or in response to a question on a piece of paper. Then they'll group up and pass their paper to the left or to the right. They will respond to each group member in writing rather than communicating verbally. The papers will be passed all the way through the group, and then at the end, when the original paper is returned, the student reads the comments and shares a general overview of what was discussed. The jigsaw method is another collaborative learning technique that gives students practice in learning and presenting new material. In the jigsaw method, each member of the group becomes an expert on one topic. If you have groups of 4, you'll have 4 different stations. People in group 1 will only learn material from group 1, and so on. After time is up, a member of group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4 will come together to form a new group in which they share their information that they are now an expert on. Concept mapping is a learning technique that allows students working in groups a way of illustrating the connection that exists between terms or concepts discovered in the course material. Students write a term for the course on a large piece of paper. Lines are drawn to connect the primary term to other related terms to show the relationship. Students are expected to identify and organize information and to establish meaningful relationships between that primary connection and the secondary connections. Project or problem-based learning is a teaching method in which students learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. PBLs tend to take place over a longer amount of time, and rather than being just a summative evaluation, it will include smaller formative assessments along the way, and the final product could be a summative evaluation as well. They demonstrate their knowledge and skills by creating a public product or presentation for a real audience. PBLs have become widely used in schools and other educational settings, with different varieties being practiced. However, there are key characteristics that differentiate doing a project from engaging in rigorous project-based learning. We can think of doing a traditional style project as a dessert project. It's an add-on to the traditional instruction. It's typically done at the end of a unit, follows very close teacher instructions. It's focused on a product only, not the learning along the way, often unrelated to standards or skills, can be completed alone or at home, remains only within the school setting, and the end result is a project displayed in the classroom. But with a PBL, you can think of that as a main course event. Instruction is integrated into the project. The project is the unit. It's driven by student inquiry, focused on product and process, aligned to academic standards and success skills, involves collaboration with students and in-class guidance from teachers, has real-world context and application. Results of project are shared beyond just the classroom, typically with a public audience. There are some key steps to creating a successful PBL. In a PBL, you're going to start with an essential question. It should be challenging and pose a problem for the students that they need to fix. PBL should have sustained inquiry, authenticity, student voice and choice, multiple opportunities for reflection, critique and revision are also an integral part of a PBL, and it needs to end in a public production. In addition to that, some key project-based teaching practices to help your implementation of PBL should include a design and plan, aligning to standards, builds a culture of inquiry among your students, managing activities along the way, scaffolding of student learning, assess student learning, and engaging in coaching in one-on-one or small group opportunities along the way. Here are a few examples of ways to get your students collaborating. It's broken down by grade level to provide you the most age-appropriate collaboration building tools. And finally, here are some great tech tools to help you build a collaborative classroom during distance learning.
The first tool we're going to look at is Seesaw. So let's take a look at how Seesaw can be used for student and teacher communication. The first way teachers and students can communicate is through comments that appear underneath an assignment or a post. Although students will not be able to comment on each other's post within the Seesaw journal, there is something that's called the Seesaw blog. And if you see over here, it looks like the globe. And teachers have the ability to decide what exactly will go in the student blog. So, and then the blog is accessible to students to comment on each other's work. So you could put a question, a prompt, a video, and students could go to the blog and freely post or comment on each other's work. Although there is no way to push out announcements to individual students in Seesaw, workaround is to create a note and go ahead and put the date. This is an example of a note. So I've put the name of the student and what the comment or the communication to that student. And then the student can come in and edit this note. And here I'm putting the date, can edit this note with the date and their reply. And this is just kind of an ongoing communication between teacher and student about whatever needs to be discussed. And it's asynchronously. So, you could leave a message with a date and a time if you wanted to. The student comes in, leaves a message with the date and the time, or just the date. And it could be an ongoing source of communication that only that student can see. As long as you tag only that student, then no one else in the class can see it. One other thing that I really like about this is Seesaw always provides a way for teachers to be able to record their audio recording of their comments. So just know that you can always click the microphone and record the message with your voice.
Teams is a great resource for communication. As a teacher, you can go in and place an announcement or a conversation thread and ask students to respond to you and others. In this example, we asked students to talk about what they know about land formations. Students can go in and react to a comment. They can reply to a comment. You can use @mentions to alert someone that you want to talk directly to them if you have questions. You can also add various types of media or clip art as shown here. In addition to that form for communication in teams, students at the middle and high school can now chat with their teachers. If you go to the chat on the left-hand side, at the top you can start a new chat. Students can communicate directly with you if they're struggling. Teachers can respond directly or with resources to help students have a better understanding of the content and topic. In addition to that, you can create a hyperdoc where students work collaboratively together. Putting that link directly in Teams means that all students will be working in the same document. This is a Microsoft Word document that's been saved to OneDrive. By getting a share link in the upper right-hand corner, you're able to provide all students the same Word document to work collaboratively. I encourage you to have students choose a color to respond in so that it's easier to keep track of. Student 1 responded in blue, Student 2 responded in green, and in addition to that, you can leave comments for your students. If you click the comment box, it's going to open the comments pane on the right-hand side to expand a conversation. Here again, you can use @mentions to alert someone to let them know that you need to speak with them directly and continue the conversation here. Finally, we're going to take a look at Flipgrid. Flipgrid is another great resource for collaboration among your students. Flipgrid is a recording platform that allows students to respond using a video. So in this example, we're continuing with landforms. We asked students to watch the video and let us know what was happening. At the bottom, Mrs. Safford has left a question for us to respond to. So students watch the video and then reply. You can view student replies by clicking on the student. The very first land formation mentioned in the video are volcanoes. Students can also start their own video here if they have questions or would like to start another thread or are directed to by the teacher.
Okay, we're going to talk just quickly about how you could use a Wakelet for communication and collaboration. And if you're not familiar with what Wakelet is, let's go through here and look at this Wakelet, and then I'll show you how you can invite students to collaborate and communicate within a Wakelet. If you just scroll through, this is the public side of a Wakelet that I created for demonstration, and it's 8th grade landform example. So when you go through here, you can see that I've dropped in a prompt or a question. There's a video, and then under it, students are to reply to something that they've learned in the video. So they can come in, they can drop in, their answer. It tells you who answered it and what day. Here's another reply. So you might have several replies under this. Then you have, this is another question prompt that you can have students come in. They could actually, this one says under each picture, tell what type of landform it is and give examples that led you to your answer. However, you could flip that and have students bring in examples of types of landforms or something. So I just wanted to show you some of the possibilities, and you can see what student added it on what day. This is just another example of a landform. They had to bring this in. You can see who answered it. So that's just an example of a Wakelet and kind of what it looks like. This is an example of a student replying to another student's answer prompt. And then, this student found this out and dropped it in here. So you can think about this as kind of a thread where students can communicate with each other. They can collaborate on a topic, share resources. You can guide them as you need to, or if you want them to have this sort of as their own little area where they can learn together, that's awesome too. But you do have access to be able to control or oversee what's going on in here also. Now, if you would like to invite students without them needing a Wakelet account, because remember, if you have 13 and under, they are not allowed to create any account. And even sometimes you wouldn't want the older ones to, just because it's much easier just to give them an invite code. So if I click on this, what it's going to do is you can see that I can just drop this link in Seesaw or drop this link in Teams, and when the students click on it, it's going to take them there, or they could scan a QR code. So if they click play,
watch the video over landforms and work with your group to list the types of geographic features mentioned.
It allows them to hear the instructions read out loud. So anyway, that's just a way that you can get your kids quickly to a Wakelet around a certain topic. Ideas could be if you had small groups, like maybe 5 or 6 kids, and they had a topic that they were learning about or communicating or collaborating on. Maybe their instructions is to build out their own Wakelet about a collaborative topic. If this group of students wants a document that they can communicate and collaborate on, then they can actually just go in here and just get the shareable link to a collaborative OneDrive Word document and just paste this in there. And then whenever the group comes in, they may have to sign in depending on how you set your permissions. But so then if the students click on that, it's going to take them directly to their group's collaborative document. So they're working here, they have comments over to the side, they're going in and working together, but we linked it directly from the Wakelet that they're working together in. So I just wanted to show you guys how Wakelet can be used, especially now that they've added this invite link that allows students to just jump right in and start communicating and collaborating with one another while they're learning. If you wanted to share Wakelet just with a link to the public, in other words, where they are not going to be able to edit it just for viewing, let's say the group is completely finished with their work and you're wanting to share that out with parents or the school or whatever, then you would just click the share button. And then we're going to copy that, and then anywhere you drop that link in, it's going to bring up the public facing Wakelet. But remember, if you would like for students to be able to jump in and work together within a Wakelet, you would click this button. So I hope that this has just been a pretty fast overview of how Wakelet can enable you as a teacher to facilitate collaborative and learning and communication, even if the students are not in the classroom. So hopefully you have some ideas of how you can use Wakelet in your classroom. Thank you.